Jackson Viper Cruz stood without a shirt in his big fancy gym in Dallas. He was very strong and shiny with sweat as he smiled at the camera on a tripod. The gym had expensive machines, bright lights, and posters of Jackson all over the walls like it was his kingdom. "Hey, Viper Nation," Jackson said loudly into his phone. Over 50,000 people were watching him live. He had 2.5 million followers because people liked watching him fight and show off. His girlfriend, Sierra Quinn, was holding her phone too. She was reading comments people were writing. Her long blonde hair sparkled in the light. "They love you today, baby," she said. "Someone says you're the future of fighting. Another person wants to know when you're coming to Phoenix." Jackson's manager, Dane Maddox, was walking around the gym in a fancy suit. He always looked clean and serious, even in the hot gym. He handed Jackson a card and whispered, "Tell them about the new sponsor deal. And remember, being talked about means more money." Jackson picked up a bottle of protein shake. He made sure the label was showing for the camera. "You know what I was thinking about today?" Jackson said loudly. "All these old fighters who think they're still the best. These old men who think their old-time moves can beat new fighters like me." He took a slow sip and looked at the comments flying across Sierra's screen. The other people in the gym stopped working out. They were listening to Jackson like he was a teacher. "I mean, seriously," Jackson kept going. "When's the last time one of these old guys fought someone real? They only live off old movies. I'm the future. They're the past." Sierra saw a comment and looked unsure. "Someone asked about Jason Statham," she said. Jackson's eyes lit up. "Jason Statham," he laughed loudly. "Perfect example. A movie guy from long ago. That cowboy wouldn't last 30 seconds with a real fighter like me." Dane stepped closer. He could see this was big news. "Say his name again," Dane whispered. Jackson stood in front of the camera, puffed up his chest, and said, "Jason Statham, if you're watching, if your grandkids even show you how the internet works, I'm calling you out. One-on-one. No movies. No tricks. Just a real fight. You and me." The gym cheered loudly. The comments were zooming by like crazy. Jackson added, "You scared, old man? Show everyone if the Texas Ranger still has it." He ended the live stream with a salute. "Spread the word, Viper Nation. Let's make Statham is finished go viral." In minutes, 500,000 people had watched. Dane was already planning ways to make money. The shiny belts on the wall behind them sparkled, but none of them would be as big as this. That same morning, the sun came through the windows of a small diner in Navasota, Texas. The floor was old, and the red booths had been there for years. In a corner booth, a quiet old man was eating eggs and hash browns and reading the newspaper. He wore jeans, worn-out boots, and a faded blue shirt. His gray hair was combed neatly, and his eyes were bright and sharp. This man was Jason Statham. Most of the people in the diner didn't know he was famous. They just thought he was a kind older man who liked his breakfast. Edna Rosewood, the waitress, walked over with a pot of coffee. She was 67 and had worked there for 20 years. She looked worried. "Jason, honey," she said, "you need to see this." She showed him her phone with shaking hands. "Some loudmouth is talking trash about you on the internet. It already has 2 million views." Jason put down his newspaper and took the phone. He watched the whole video with no expression. He didn't look angry or surprised. "That boy sure thinks he's something," Edna said. "Are you going to say anything back?" Jason handed back the phone and took a sip of coffee. "Some people only learn the hard way," he said calmly. "But he's calling you out online. The whole world's watching." Edna said. Jason smiled. "The coffee's good today. Did you change it?" A college student named Leo looked up from his books. He recognized Jason but nodded silently when Jason gave a small shake of his head. He knew Jason didn't want attention. But some people in the diner didn't stay quiet. Nora Bramble, 73, leaned over and said, "Jason Statham, that really you? I saw that video on my grandson's Facebook. That boy needs his mouth washed out with soap." Her husband Gus said, "Shame how young people act. You should teach him a lesson, Jason." Jason folded his newspaper slowly. Manners should be taught at home. But if someone doesn't want to learn, well, Even while he spoke calmly, Jason was thinking about the video. The expensive gym. The camera crew. It felt fake. Like a setup. Like something dangerous. Edna poured more coffee without being asked. Jason, I've known you for years. You don't back down from what matters. Jason looked at her. Does this matter to you? It matters that this boy thinks he can disrespect good folks and no one will stop him. My husband Hank used to say a man's name is all he really owns. Jason finished his coffee, left a tip, and stood up. Hank was a smart man. Tell him I said hello. He walked out to his truck, and Edna watched him through the window. She knew something big was about to happen. The truck's engine roared, and Jason drove toward his ranch, thinking hard. Respect wasn't something you shouted about. It was something you showed. And sometimes, when words weren't enough, you had to act. Back in Dallas, Dane was walking in circles in his office, holding the phone. On his wall were pictures of him with fighters and famous people. Jackson's video was playing on 4 big screens. Over 3 million people had seen it. Yes, ESPN, Dane said into the phone. We're serious. Jason Statham versus Viper. It's the fight of the century. Jackson was lounging in a leather chair, still reading comments on his phone. His group of friends surrounded him like fans. Dane, tell them about the money. Jackson said, laughing. We'll sell 5 million tickets, easy. Dane kept lying smoothly. Old fans want to cheer for Jason. Young fans want to see him lose. It's perfect. Meanwhile, Jackson made more videos, getting meaner each time. He said Jason was too old, too slow, and just a movie man. He's 84, Jackson said. I could beat him with one hand tied behind my back. Sierra looked uncomfortable in the background, but Jackson didn't notice. Everyone in the gym laughed like they were told to. Dane was making calls fast. He booked the Dallas Convention Center and told everyone it was a charity event. That made it sound nicer. The news spread everywhere. People argued on TV. Should Jason fight? Was he too old? Far away, an old man named Royce Adler was watching too. He was 72, a war veteran, and ran a small karate school where people learned respect. He knew Jason from long ago. He picked up the phone. Jason, Royce said. You seeing this? Hard to miss, Jason replied. There's more you should know, Royce said. This kid Jackson? He's tied to bad people. Russian mob. Illegal fights. It's not just for fun. It's about dirty money. Jason didn't speak for a while. You sure? He asked. Sure as taxes, Royce said. This kid owes money to a man named Gregor Malenko. Bad news. Real bad. This fight? It's not about pride. It's about business. Dirty business. Jason nodded slowly. This wasn't just about trash talk anymore. It was about something bigger. Royce sighed. But I know you, Jason. This doesn't change your mind, does it? Jason's voice was calm. No, it doesn't. Not one bit. Because some lessons have to be taught the hard way. And some legends never fade. The media circus kept growing louder and louder. But behind the cameras and news, some very bad people were making secret plans. They were setting up a game with rules that regular people would never know. Jason was sitting on the porch of his ranch. The Texas sunset made the sky orange and gold. He held his phone to his ear. On the other end, Royce Adler was talking. Royce used to work in secret missions, so he knew a lot. Gregor Malenko runs a really tight and sneaky group, Royce said. His voice sounded serious and heavy. They fix fights, move money in bad ways, and scare people into paying back big loans. Your friend Jackson owes Malenko over $2 million because he gambled and bought too many fancy things. Jason rocked slowly in his chair. He was thinking deeply. And this fight challenge is going to help Jackson pay the money back? Jason asked. That's the plan, Royce said. Malenko's gang has been cheating in fights for years. When they already know who will win, they make a lot of money. Jason, this isn't just about teaching a young guy some respect. These people are dangerous and mean business. The evening air smelled like mosquito spray and faraway cows. It felt calm and peaceful, which didn't match the scary stuff Royce was saying. Jason had been in many tough battles during his army years, but that was a long time ago, when he felt strong and unbreakable. How long has this been going on? Jason asked. For months, maybe even longer, Royce said. Jackson kept borrowing money to live a fancy life. Big gym, cool cars, expensive clothes. But when the Hanks came, he couldn't pay. And Malenko doesn't let people walk away from their debts. Jason understood. Jackson wasn't just acting like a cocky fighter anymore. He was in trouble, and bad people were after him. That made everything feel different now. Royce, thank you for telling me all this. But it doesn't change what I have to do, Jason said. I thought you'd say that, Royce replied. I just wanted you to know what's really going on. After they hung up, Jason stayed in his chair as it got darker. He thought about what to do. The smart choice would be to ignore the fight. Let Jackson deal with his own mistakes. But the video of the challenge had been seen by millions of people. If Jason stayed quiet, people might think he was scared. And if Royce was right, this was about more than just one young fighter's attitude. It was about bad people cheating in a sport Jason cared deeply about. It was about protecting innocent people from being hurt. This wasn't just a fight. It was something bigger. Jason picked up his phone and called Dane Maddox, the fight promoter. He sounded calm and serious. Mr. Maddox, this is Jason Statham. I heard your fighter wants to meet me in the ring. Dane almost dropped his phone. Mr. Statham, yes. We're so excited. I have 2 rules, Jason said gently. All the money goes to my Kickstart Kids Foundation. And the fight happens in 1 week. Yes, sir. Absolutely, sir. Dane replied quickly. 1 week, Mr. Maddox. Set it up, Jason said. Then he ended the call. Dane stared at his phone, amazed. Then he started calling people, booking places, and getting the media ready for the biggest martial arts event in a long time. The news spread super fast. Jason Statham had said yes to the challenge. Everyone on social media was talking about it. Fans argued about whether it was smart for an 84-year-old man to fight someone young and strong. But behind all the excitement, the bad guys, Gregor Malenko's team, were already moving money and making secret plans. They had 1 week to make sure they won, no matter what happened in the fight. Jason went back to his rocking chair and looked up at the stars. He knew this would be dangerous. But he also knew some things were worth taking risks for, like honor, respect, and helping people who didn't know how much danger they were in. The young man had asked for a fight. Now he would learn the difference between wanting something and being ready for it. 3 days later, Jackson Gym was packed with people. Reporters, cameras, and fans filled the whole place. The gym was now a big show with bright lights and lots of wires on the floor. Jackson sat at a table with microphones from every big news station. He wore a fancy tracksuit and shiny diamond earrings. He leaned back, looking proud. He loved all the attention. Dane Maddox stood nearby, talking to the crowd like a circus announcer. Everyone, thank you for coming to the biggest martial arts show ever. Dane shouted. Jackson got up and started showing off fighting moves with his training friends. He did arm twists, chokes, and throws, all flashy moves made to look cool for the cameras. This is what modern martial arts looks like. Jackson shouted. Skill, strength, and style. Those old guys never learned this stuff. They were too busy making movies. A reporter from ESPN asked, Jackson, don't you think it's a little unfair to fight someone who's 84 years old? Jackson laughed. Age is just a number, until reality knocks you down. Jason wants to fight? Fine. I'm just going to show what happens when movies meet real life. Another reporter said, but you're younger, faster, and stronger. Isn't that a big advantage? Jackson flexed his muscles and smiled. I've been training my whole life. This is my job, my art. Jason hasn't had a real fight since forever. The only edge he has is being old. I'm the one who's ready. Sierra, who worked with the team, looked at her phone. Hashtags like #ViperPower and #StathamChallenge were going viral. Everyone was picking sides. Jackson sat back down and took a drink. You know the truth? I'm doing the old man a favor. Better to learn your limits here than on the streets. The crowd cheered and clapped. Dane looked at his watch. He was waiting for someone. "Where's Jason Statham?" a reporter shouted. "Isn't he coming to answer all this?" Jackson shrugged and said loudly, "Maybe he's too scared to show up. Happens when people realize their legends are fake." Just then, the big gym doors creaked open. The sound was soft, but everyone heard it. Jason Statham walked in by himself. He wore simple jeans, old boots, and a plain white shirt. The room went totally quiet. Cameras all turned to him. Jason walked calmly through the crowd. His face was quiet and polite. He didn't look mad or scared. Jackson and his friends laughed. "Look at this," Jackson said. "Grandpa's playing cowboy today." Jason walked to the table. He looked around the room carefully, like he was checking every detail. He took the microphone and said, "Young man, respect is earned through what you do, not what you say. I'll see you Saturday night." That was it. No yelling. No showing off. He handed the mic back, nodded kindly to everyone, and walked out slowly. "That's it." Jackson shouted, "You're not going to sell the fight?" Jason turned at the door. His eyes looked serious and full of wisdom. "Some things don't need selling. They just need doing," he said. Then he left. The room buzzed with energy. Jackson tried to act cool again. But Sierra noticed something in Jason's eyes, something cold and focused. Not fear, but the look of someone who knew exactly what was coming. In just a few hours, all the tickets for the Saturday night event were sold out. The Dallas Convention Center was turned into a huge fight arena. 12,000 fans filled the seats. Young fans held Viper power signs for Jackson. Older fans held Team Jason banners, remembering the old days. The arena was loud with excitement. People bought snacks and programs with pictures of both fighters. Jackson's picture looked like a superhero. Jason's picture looked like a farmer. Jackson entered with a big show, fireworks, music, smoke, and 20 people behind him like a parade. Dane wore a shiny suit. Sierra followed, looking nervous. Everyone in the group smiled for the cameras. Jackson showed off for 10 minutes. He waved, flexed, and punched the air. Young fans screamed and cheered. But nearby, men in expensive suits were watching. They were part of Malenko's gang. One of them, Yuri Dragov, had a scarred face and cold gray eyes. He looked like someone who had hurt people before. They didn't cheer. They just watched like they were checking if their plan was working. Then Jason came in. No fireworks. No music. No crowd. He wore plain black shorts and a simple robe. He waved gently to the older fans but stayed focused. Next to Jackson, Jason looked small and old. But if you looked closely, you saw how he moved smoothly, how he stood perfectly, and how sharp his eyes were. The referee, Hank Rosewood, called them both to the middle. "Okay guys," he said. 3 rounds, 5 minutes each. Follow the rules and protect yourselves. Jackson bounced up and down, ready to go. He grinned at the crowd and threw practice punches. Jason stood still. He breathed calmly. He looked like a mountain. No fear. No excitement. Just calm. He was ready. Completely ready. The bell rang loudly with a clang. It was time to start the fight. Jackson ran forward quickly. He threw a weak punch and smiled at his fans sitting in the front row. He thought he was stronger and bigger and that this fight would be over fast. But Jason wasn't there anymore. He moved out of the way smoothly, like water. As Jackson missed his punch, Jason's leg kicked out super fast and hit Jackson right in the ribs with a loud thwack. The sound was like a firecracker. Jackson fell down on one knee, holding his side, his face showing pain and surprise. The crowd went quiet. No one could believe how fast and perfectly Jason had moved. Jackson looked up at Jason. For the first time, he didn't see an old man. He saw someone strong and smart, someone who had been hiding his true strength until the right time. Jackson stood up slowly, still holding his side. He wasn't smiling anymore. Now, he looked worried. The people watching were no longer cheering. They were shocked and quiet. Jason took a step back to give Jackson space. He spoke clearly so everyone could hear. "You don't have to keep going, son," he said. "We can stop now if you want." But Jackson didn't want to quit. His pride was hurt more than his ribs. Lucky kick, old man, Jackson said, but his voice didn't sound brave anymore. Let's see if you can handle me for real. Jackson rushed at Jason, trying to grab both his legs to bring him down to the ground. He was good at Jiu Jitsu and thought he could win there. But Jason stopped him with a perfect knee strike, then hit him with a fast hand to the side of the head. Jackson stumbled. Fighting without control is just being wild, Jason said calmly, like a teacher teaching a lesson. Jackson tried to move around to find an opening, but Jason was always in the right spot. His feet moved like a dance, perfect and smooth. Jackson threw a big punch, but Jason hit him straight in the face first. Then Jackson tried a fancy spinning kick, the kind people like on social media. Jason just ducked and gently pushed his hand into Jackson's chest, making him bend over and gasp for air. Outside the ring, Dane Maddox was making panicked phone calls. He was talking in broken Russian, looking scared. He could see his fighter, Jackson, was losing badly. FBI agent Leo Santoro moved through the crowd quietly. He was dressed like a college kid, but really he was talking to his team using a tiny microphone. He was watching Yuri Dragov and the other men in fancy suits. Another man named Royce Adler sat in the crowd too. He had sharp eyes and could tell the bad guys were getting nervous. They had bet a lot of money, and Jason was ruining their plan. Edna Rosewood, who had driven from a small town just to see Jason, held her purse tightly. She had known Jason as a kind man, but now she saw a warrior, just like the stories said. The second round started. Jackson came out slower this time. He tried to use his long arms and better energy to wear Jason down. But Jason wasn't tired at all. He was still calm and breathing fine. Jackson was already getting tired. Jason started talking while they fought. Fighting isn't about showing off. It's about knowing yourself and your opponent, he said. He tripped Jackson to the ground, but didn't hit him while he was down. He stepped back and let Jackson get up. Jackson got frustrated. "Stop playing with me," he shouted. "I'm not playing," Jason said. "I'm teaching." Jackson ran at Jason, swinging wildly. Jason hit him again and again, fast and clean. Blood came from Jackson's nose and mouth. When the round ended, Jackson leaned on his corner, worn out and broken. Jason looked like he hadn't even been in a fight, calm and strong. Yuri Dragov, sitting near the ring, looked worried. Their plan was falling apart, and they were going to lose a lot of money. While the break between rounds happened, Leo the FBI agent told his team, the plan was for Jackson to lose in round 3, but Jason is beating him for real. The bad guys are panicking. The FBI agents moved into place outside the arena. They were ready to stop the crime. The Russian gang had made Jackson take loans and spend money they gave him. They told him to fight hard for 2 rounds, then pretend to lose in round 3. That way, they could win big money by gambling. But Jason was too good. Jackson was losing badly, and it didn't even look close. Now their trick wouldn't work. The plan was falling apart right in front of everyone. The third round started. Jackson was wild and desperate. He tried to grab and twist, but Jason stopped him every time. Jason's moves were perfect, kicks, punches, and holds that he had practiced for years. "This is control, son," Jason said as he caught Jackson in an arm lock. But he didn't break the arm. He let go. "Power without wisdom is dangerous," Jason said. The bad guys were furious. Jason wasn't doing what they wanted. The crowd started cheering for Jason. Older people in the audience knew they were seeing something special, not just fighting, but wisdom and discipline. Royce Adler helped gather some military veterans from the crowd. He had a feeling that trouble was coming. Jason kept blocking all of Jackson's moves. Everything Jackson did was turned into a lesson. "You're talented, Jackson," Jason said. "But talent without good character is wasted." When the third round ended, Jackson looked beat up and tired. He had tried everything and failed. Jason went back to his corner, calm as always. The men in fancy suits were now angry. Yuri was making phone calls and sending messages. Their plan had failed. They were losing millions. These were not nice people, and they didn't handle failure well. As Jackson sat in his corner, his team tried to stop his bleeding. Dane, his coach, was yelling on the phone. Then Jason did something surprising. He walked across the ring to Jackson's corner and knelt beside him. The arena went totally quiet. "Listen, son," Jason said softly. You don't need to keep getting hurt. Say you were wrong about disrespecting martial arts, and we can end this here." Jackson looked at him. For the first time, he saw Jason for who he really was, not someone out for revenge, but a kind teacher. "I was wrong, Mr. Statham," Jackson whispered. "You're everything people say, and more. I didn't understand what I was disrespecting." Jason nodded. But then Jackson's face turned to fear. "But if I lose, they'll kill me. I owe money to bad people. They'll hurt my girlfriend, my family." Jason's face got serious. "What kind of people?" he asked. "Russian mob," Jackson said quietly. "Gregor Koslov. I was supposed to lose in round 3 so they could win their bets. But you're too good. I can't make it look real anymore." Jason looked at the fancy men in suits and understood the whole setup. This fight had been a trap. "No one threatens a fighter in my ring," Jason said. "No one." Jackson grabbed Jason's arm. "You don't get it. These people don't just hurt fighters. They hurt families." Jason saw the fear in Jackson's eyes. He was no longer a tough guy, just a scared kid who made a mistake. "Jackson, trust me," Jason said. "Can you do that?" The bell rang for round 4. But Jason didn't fight. He walked to the center of the ring and looked straight at Yuri Dragov. "Leave now," Jason said, loud and clear. "This boy learned his lesson. That's enough." Yuri laughed and reached into his jacket. "Old man, you don't know who you're messing with." Jason's voice got quiet, but everyone still heard it. "I'm Jason Statham," he said. "That's all you need to know." Suddenly, Yuri pulled out a shiny silver gun. The crowd screamed and panic spread through the building. But Jason didn't move. He just stood there, calm and brave. Royce Adler, the ex-soldier, began leading people out calmly. Other veterans helped families and kids leave safely. Edna stayed in her seat. "I'm not leaving Jason," she said. Leo Santoro showed his FBI badge and helped people leave too. His team was now ready outside. The bad guys circled the ring with their weapons. Yuri pointed the gun at Jackson. "You ruined everything," Yuri said. "We lost money, time, and respect. So now I'll take your life instead." But Jason stepped in front of Jackson. He didn't look scared at all. The lights in the big arena got dark, except for the bright lights over the ring. It made everything feel serious, like something big was about to happen. This was a fight between good and bad. Jason stood there and said, "You'll have to go through me first." He took off his robe and showed his strong body. Even though he was 84 years old, he still moved like someone young and powerful. He had trained for his whole life and knew exactly what he was doing. The whole arena got quiet. You could only hear Jason breathing and some sirens far away. The FBI was on their way. In the ring, 2 different ideas were about to clash. One was about doing bad things for power and money. The other was about being brave and doing the right thing, even when it's hard. Dimitri, the bad guy, held his gun tighter. But he saw that Jason wasn't scared. Jason had spent his whole life standing up to bullies. Talking was over. Dimitri got ready to shoot, but Jason was already moving fast. Suddenly, Jason didn't look like a quiet cowboy anymore. He became a strong fighter, a hero. Jason spun around and kicked the gun right out of Dimitri's hand before he could fire. Then 7 of Dimitri's men jumped in to fight Jason. They thought an old man couldn't stop them. But they were very wrong. Jason moved like a young man, full of power and grace. One man tried to stab Jason with a knife. Jason quickly hit his wrist and broke it. The knife flew away. Another man tried to punch Jason. Jason moved out of the way and punched him so hard he flew up in the air. Jason's kicks were so fast and loud they sounded like firecrackers. Every hit knocked someone down. Jason's moves were smart and careful. He knew exactly where to hit to stop someone fast. He had trained for 50 years. His punches and kicks were perfect. Around the ring, Jason's old friends, like Royce Adler, helped keep people safe. They knew Jason wasn't just fighting. He was using wisdom and training to stop evil. Leo Santoro worked with the FBI outside. They were ready to move in, but they saw that Jason didn't need help yet. Jackson, a younger fighter, watched in amazement. He finally understood why Jason was a legend. It wasn't because of movies or fame. It was because of his heart, his training, and his bravery. Jason moved like water, always flowing and never stopping. He used moves that stopped people without hurting them too much. In 2 minutes, 5 bad guys were on the ground. The last 2 got scared and started to run away. Dimitri grabbed his gun again and limped toward the door. He was scared now. "You don't know what you've done, old man," Dimitri shouted. "Malenko will destroy everything you love." But Jason didn't look scared. He walked slowly, breathing calmly. "Some things are worth protecting, Dimitri," Jason said. Then the doors flew open. A big scary man walked in with 2 guards. This was Gregor Malenko, the real boss. He had planned everything. He looked around and saw his men on the ground. His eyes were cold and angry. "You ruined everything tonight," Malenko said to Jason. "I lost millions of dollars, and all my plans are ruined." Jason stood 10 feet away, ready to move if needed. "Some prices are worth paying, Gregor. Justice is one of them," Jason said. Malenko walked into the ring. His 2 guards had guns and were very serious. Malenko talked like someone used to being obeyed. "This wasn't just about gambling," he said. "It was about controlling everything." Jason listened quietly, but his eyes got sharper and his body got ready to move. Malenko said that Jackson was just a small part of his big plan. He had tricked many people with money and fear. "I spent 15 years building this," he shouted, "and you ruined it in one night." Jackson stood beside Jason, even though he was hurt. "I'm done being your puppet," he said. "Jason showed me what real strength looks like. It's about doing what's right." Then Sierra stepped forward. She held up her phone. "I recorded everything. All your crimes. It's all saved and safe," she said bravely. Malenko looked shocked and angry. "She's under my protection," Jason said. "So is Jackson. And so is everyone who came here expecting a fair fight." The FBI had finally surrounded the whole building. Leo and his team were ready to stop anyone trying to escape. Royce and the other veterans stood guard, ready for the last battle. Malenko pulled out a big gun and pointed it at Jason. "If I can't keep my money and power, I'll destroy the man who took them from me." He aimed carefully. Jason didn't move. "Some things are more important than money," Jason said calmly. "Like honor, honesty, and protecting others." "You're a dead man," Malenko said. But something about Jason's steady eyes made him nervous. Jason didn't look scared at all. Malenko pulled the trigger, but he missed. Jason rolled forward and then kicked the gun out of his hand. It flew away. Malenko held his wrist in pain. Then Jason moved fast, using all the martial arts he had learned over his life. He used punches, throws, and special strikes that stopped Malenko in seconds. Malenko had expected an old man, but Jason was faster and stronger than he could ever imagine. Malenko's guards gave up. They didn't want to fight anymore. They saw they were no match for Jason. FBI agents came in and arrested everyone. Paramedics helped the injured. Jason walked over to Jackson and checked on him. "You did good, son," Jason said kindly. "Standing up to bullies is the hardest lesson." Jackson looked up at Jason. "Now I understand why you're a legend. It's not the movies. It's your heart." The arena was full of police, doctors, and reporters. What started as a normal fight had turned into the end of a huge criminal plan. Malenko was taken away in an ambulance. He was hurt and under arrest. Dimitri and his men were taken in police cars. Their evil plans were over. Dane, the man who helped Malenko, sat in handcuffs. His fancy clothes were messy, and he was sweating. He knew he was going to jail. Jason didn't want interviews. He just said, "The boy learned something tonight. That's enough for me." Jason put his hand gently on Jackson's shoulder. "Respect is something you earn by being kind and brave, not by demanding it." Royce and Edna stood with Jason. They were proud of him. The other veterans nodded. This was why they had fought in wars, to protect what was right. Leo said the investigation would continue for a long time. But the most important part was done. The bad guys were caught. The good people were safe. And justice had won. 1 hour later, outside the big building, the night was bright from flashing police and ambulance lights. Reporters wanted to know what happened. Jackson, even though he was hurt, walked toward the cameras. He looked very different now. He was calm and honest. "I want to say I'm sorry," he said. "Especially to Mr. Statham. I was wrong. I didn't understand what real strength means." The reporters listened closely as Jackson told the truth. He talked about his gambling problems and how Malenko had tricked him. He didn't hide anything. "Jason Statham saved my life," Jackson said. "Not just from the bad guys, but from myself. He showed me that being strong means doing what's right, even when it's hard." Dane was taken past the cameras in handcuffs. His dream of easy money was over. Sierra Quinn was not just a silly girlfriend anymore. She talked to the news people about how she had been looking into bad things happening in sports for a long time. "I'm a student learning to be a reporter at SMU," she said. "When I met Jackson, I saw that some bad people were tricking him. I stayed close so I could collect proof, and I also started to care about him." The things she recorded and wrote down helped the police stop a big group of bad people doing wrong things in many states. Jason didn't want to talk to the news too much. He just said something short and strong. Jackson was very brave tonight. He stood up to people who scared him. That takes more strength than winning any fight. Jason's old friend, Royce Adler, stood next to him, happy and proud. "I've known Jason for 50 years, he told a news person. "Tonight shows what kind of man he is. He always helps people who can't help themselves." Edna Rosewood came from Navasota, even though she was a little scared. She cried happy tears as she watched Jason talk to the news. "He's the same man who comes to my diner every morning," she said. "He's quiet, kind, and nice to everyone." Tonight, the whole world saw what we've always known. Leo Santoro, still acting like a college student so no one knew he worked for the FBI, gave updates to his bosses. He also helped local police. The investigation would keep going for a while, but most of the bad people were already in jail. While all the reporters were busy, Jason quietly walked away from the cameras and went to his pickup truck. He had said what he needed to say and done what he needed to do. Now he just wanted to go back to his peaceful life. Jackson watched from the steps of the arena as Jason drove away. Even though he was surrounded by people talking to him and saying nice things, Jackson kept looking at the truck leaving. Jason had changed his life in just one amazing night. The video that started everything now felt very old. Now there were new videos showing Jason being brave. These videos made many kids want to learn real martial arts with respect and kindness. 1 week later, Jason was back in his usual seat at Mabel's diner in Navasota. He was drinking black coffee and eating eggs while reading the newspaper. The front page showed that Gregor Malenko got caught and his gang was stopped. But Jason was reading the sports page, where a small story talked about how more kids were joining martial arts classes now. Edna came to his table with a warm smile and fresh coffee. "You're famous again, Jason," she said. "That boy Jackson has been on every talk show, telling people what you taught him about respect." Jason looked up from his paper. Good for him. It takes courage to say sorry in front of everyone. "Dane Maddox got 5 years in prison," Edna said happily. "And that Russian man, Malenko, won't see the sun again. He's going to prison for life." Jason nodded. "Justice takes time," he said. "But it always comes in the end." The diner was busy with new faces, young people from Dallas and Houston. They came hoping to see the quiet hero who reminded everyone what real martial arts is about. Jason gave them polite nods, but didn't say much. He liked letting his actions speak for him. Leo Santoro came in and sat at his usual table. He looked like a college student again, but now he carried himself like someone who had seen good win over evil. He lifted his coffee cup toward Jason. Jason smiled and lifted his cup too. Royce Adler sat down at Jason's table like he always did. "Jackson called me yesterday," Royce said. "He wants to train at my school. He says he wants to learn the right way this time." Jason buttered his toast and thought for a moment. "You think he's serious?" "Very serious," Royce said. "Being scared by Russian gangsters really makes you think about your life." As they talked, Jason saw someone he recognized coming toward the diner. It was Jackson Velasco. He wore simple clothes and looked very nervous. He stood outside the window, trying to be brave enough to come in. Edna saw him too and looked at Jason. Jason gave a small nod, and Edna went to welcome Jackson kindly. "Mr. Statham," Jackson said quietly as he came to the table, his arm still in a sling. "Can I ask you something?" Jason pointed to the empty seat next to Royce. "Sit down, son." "Coffee?" "Yes, sir." "Thank you." Jackson sat carefully, still healing. "I've been thinking about what you said in the ring, that respect is shown by what you do, not what you say. I want to learn the right way now. I want to know about discipline, respect, and what it really means to be a martial artist, not just someone who knows how to fight." Jason looked at him closely. He wanted to see if Jackson was being honest or just acting. He saw no pride, only the face of a student who wanted to learn. "Royce has a good school," Jason said. "He teaches the right values, respect, hard work, doing things properly. Are you ready to do it the hard way?" "Yes, sir. I'm done taking shortcuts." Jason smiled a little. "Respect is the first lesson, Jackson. Looks like you've already started learning it." He pointed to the seat across from him. "Sit down, son. Let's talk about what real strength means." The story ended with Jason reading his newspaper again while Jackson sat, ready to start learning. Edna filled their coffee cups with a big smile. She knew she was seeing something special, the passing of wisdom from one person to another. Outside the diner, the Texas morning sun rose over the small town where their new friendship began. The shadows slowly faded as a bright new day began. Did you enjoy the story? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below. If you had a great time, don't forget to hit subscribe and ring the bell so you're always in the loop for the next adventure. Thanks for joining me, and as always, stay curious, stay brave, and keep exploring.